Fear and anxiety. Holy crap, do we ever deal with this as actors? Well, today we're going to talk about it because I don't think we talk about this nearly enough, and I'm so excited because we're going to do it in a special way. I am bringing on my very first guest onto my YouTube channel. This guest is a good friend of mine. Her name is Veenu Sandhu, and she is a talented actress from Vancouver, originally from Dawson Creek, and she's got experience in theater, TV commercials, and TV and film. Her career in the last 2-3 years has really started to skyrocket. So what is she doing? I want to know. I do know that she has experience working with fear and anxiety because she's got a background in physical fitness, body work, and yoga, and she's learned how to use these tools to help her in her audition rooms and on set and in her work in general. So I want to hear all about this. We're going to talk about that along with things that you need to be thinking about and doing day to day to be a professional actor. What does that actually mean to be and act like a professional actor? So we're going to talk about that today and all kinds of other fun, deep stuff. So let's get to it. Thanks so much for watching, and here we go. Hi everyone.
Hello.
This is Veenu.
That's me.
We met in class.
With Loretta Walsh.
With Loretta Walsh at Ben Ratner's studio.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do a scene together.
Okay, that I don't remember. What scene did we do?
Wait, was that a different class with her? You, me, and another person. It was a three-hander.
Oh, I don't...
Carrie? Male? I think his name is Carrie.
Oh, okay, maybe. Oh,
Carrie, if
so
you're watching
long
this,
ago.
we remember.
Yes, totally. That was what, six years ago?
6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And since then, we've both done a lot of things. And I really want to interview Veenu for many, many reasons. And she's also agreed to be the first person I've ever interviewed on my YouTube channel, which is a lot of trust.
Cherry popped. Yes.
Because I'm nervous. And she's very calming for me, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I love Jennifer.
All right, let's get in.
Okay.
Question number 1. I want to know, what is your actor origin story? How did it all start?
The very, very first time I caught the bug?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's grade 3, the Christmas concert, where they recited the whole, how's it go? Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Yeah, the night before Christmas.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
But me and the other brown person in my class in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, Canberra Negra, we were understudies to the mom and dad.
Okay.
It was great. They had a bulletin board with a blanket they had stapled up to it, so if you were when you climbed into bed, you were against the bulletin board. And
The standing.
Yeah,
the
the
standing
standing
sleeping. That's the best. I did a lot of that too.
Yeah, I was very upset I didn't get to actually play the part. We only did a couple rehearsals as understudies. But then in grade 4, I had a teacher, Mr. Clem. Shout out to Mr. Fred Clem. He had us do Macbeth for kids.
Oh, wow.
And I played the first witch. Because I didn't want to be Macbeth. I wanted to be the first witch because I had a very bad influence friend who was like, "We can be wicked." So that's what we did.
I love that you were a witch.
Yeah, and we made a cauldron, like the I have newt toe of frog. We did all that out of paper mache and we threw it into the fake cauldron, and that was it. That was when I knew I loved it.
It was a witch role.
It was a witch role.
So, funny thing about witches is I feel like a connection with a witch character from Halloween. Like, I grew up with wonderful parents who would make our Halloween costumes, and we loved Halloween, and my dad would play this witch and scare the crap out of kids on our patio.
Oh, that's great.
Sometimes he'd sit outside out still and wait for the kids to come, and and it was a full mask, and so you couldn't tell, is this a stuffed thing or is this a person? And then he'd move a little, and they'd be like, did he move? And then, so I just fell in love with witches because it's so evil and fun. And so every year now, I've been lame about Halloween. I don't really change my costume. I just love being a witch because I just feel like it's the one time of year where I can be witchy.
Right.
Okay. So you fell in love then.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're an actor too. You've been acting. How long have you been acting for?
I finished a year of Vancouver Film School in January 2007. I was out in the world trying to find an agent.
So that was like professional actor.
Yeah.
But before that, you were always acting around as a kid.
Yeah, like high school plays and stuff. I minored in drama while I was in school because my parents said I wasn't allowed to major in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I did it on the slide. And I did some community, when I finished school, I was living with my parents in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And there was some community theater there. I did the Vagina Monologues.
Nice.
For a local organization called HIV North. And then I also did, this, it was like a dinner theater thing at the casino. And we were all supposed to be like animals but humans. It was locally written. It was hilarious. And I remember just being like, oh yeah, I love doing this stuff, because I hadn't done it for about 3 years at that point. And then that made me start going, well, okay, do I want to stay in Grand Prairie and run my dad's business? Or do I really want to give this acting thing a shot? Like I always told myself as a kid I would. And so yeah, there was nothing really holding me back. So I was like, okay, bite the bullet.
Do it.
Just do it.
That's courageous. To just do it. And
Yeah.
to realize that.
And yeah, it still came in baby steps. There was still a lot of, I came here, I decided, I'm going to do a year of school and then I'm going to be ready to be an actor. And a year of school doesn't really fully prepare you to be an actor.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
And I was also a little bit older, so like I wasn't ready to live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 other people like all my friends were doing. So I got a real job and I wanted, I paid my own bills and I was trying to figure out how to have a career and act at the same time, and I had to take a lot of little increments towards committing more to acting and less to a real career. Whatever the hell that means.
So how long would you say it took you to get to feeling like, that's a good question to ask you, do you feel like you identify primarily as an actor?
Now I do.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to get to that point?
So I thought I was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I would say I'd quit all my other careers and I knew that I had to work like maybe a lot of like different side jobs to support the acting. It's like a drug addict. Mm-hmm. You just figure out a way to get it done. But then I did the Women in Film and Television mentorship program. God, that was like 4 years ago, I think.
Oh,
now.
great.
3 years ago? 4 years? 3 years ago. And I worked with Pascal Hutton. And it's nothing she specifically said or did, but as I watched her operate as a working actor, as someone whose whole life was this industry, this career, aside from her her family and everything, I realized I was not fully serving myself. And I realized I was not working as hard as I could. And also how my mindset wasn't in the right place. Like I thought I was working really hard, but then I noticed all the little gaps of like, oh, well, I'm not being as memorized as I possibly could be going into every single audition. I would get myself off the hook. I'd be like, yeah, I spent half an hour on it, and I know it pretty good, and I know I'll be fine once I'm in the room, instead of actually testing myself and making sure I was that off book. Or coming at a scene from 3 different angles as opposed to just the one. So that when it came time to being redirected in the room, I'd have an arsenal there ready to go. Because I'm not an improviser like you. Like I need to at least, work out a few things first before I can fully commit, especially a full scene.
Yeah.
So just those little things that I was shortchanging myself. I wasn't, I ate pretty healthy, but I wasn't eating as healthy as I should. I wasn't sleeping as much as I should, which I still need to work on. But just a lack of recognition of like, oh, if I want to be a professional actor, I need to start walking the walk and talking the talk. I can't just think one day I'll get there if I'm not doing the work right now.
It's all those day-to-day things that add up to defining you as an actor, I think. I've been learning that a lot too in the last few years. It's like, how are you operating overall, and how does that impact your work as a performer, and the more you set up systems for yourself. how you audition for things, how you take care of your body, how are you training, all of that.
Yes.
How are you, and mindset, huge, is
Yeah.
a huge part of it. That's been like a major shift for me as well, realizing like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
because there's something that all those actors who are booking all the time are doing.
Yes. Yeah, and then that was part of it too, is I didn't realize, like, because I'm not formally trained, I didn't do a 4-year theater program, I was just trying to learn everything wherever I could, which is great. I think as a beginner you kind of have to just do that because you don't even know what you need to learn or what you need to work on until you've worked on a few different things. But I hit a point around then too when I realized, okay, I want to book strong female roles, like women who have jobs and women who are solving problems and have a strength to them. So then I told my coach at the time, those are the scenes I want to work on in class. And then we started doing that, and also became, that's my wheelhouse. If you need someone to play a lawyer or a cop, I'm there. Whereas 2 years prior to that, I would just be like, I don't know, I guess I'm a cop.
So you're super specific too.
Super specific. And then now, I was just talking to Jen before we started rolling, that last year I recognized theater as my weakness. I haven't auditioned for theater very much, so I've spent the last year really applying myself to be a better theater auditioner.
She's a boss.
I love being a boss.
Me too. Yeah. Act like a boss, because you are your own boss.
You are.
You don't have a boss to. There's no boss. That's the thing that's hard about being an actor. You have no boss. There's no boss being like, hey, what time did you wake up today?
Yeah.
How long did you spend working on your audition? How long have you trained much lately? Or
there's no one there checking to make sure you're doing your work properly. You're your own boss. You only answer to yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's the message. And once in a while when I'm feeling like, I don't want to work on that right now, it's a little bit of self-talk. Why do you live here? Why are you sacrificing so much? Like I could live a very comfortable life in Alberta with my family, very close to me, who I love dearly and wish I could be close to them. But I've made a lot of sacrifices to be here in Vancouver to do this thing. So am I going to let myself off the hook now after giving up all that other stuff that's important? No.
You got a tough love. You have a tough love version of Veenu in there.
Yeah.
Gives you the kick in the pants.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really,
because I'm very lazy by nature. Like I'm very, if someone was feeding me peeled grapes and fanning me with a big palm frond, I could live that life. No problem. But nobody's going to do that for me. Nobody's going to save me except for myself. So.
That's a quote. I think I posted that recently, and forget who says it, but I thought that was something I was like, yes, no one is there to save you. That was a big thing to really realizing like you really are in charge of you. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so what is it? What's your why? What's your reason for being an actor? I mean, you're sacrificing so much, and you're here, and you keep going, and I know this is a deep question.
The funny thing is my answer's so simple.
That's fine.
Because I've done a lot of different careers. I've done like at least 5, and I've been very good at all of, like, maybe I didn't start off good, but I worked at all of them to the point where I got good enough to be the boss in a number of them. So I really could do anything I want to. I know that. If all of a sudden I realized one day I had to support one of my parents because they got ill or something and I needed the money, I know that I have somewhere to go and do that. But I would not be happy doing anything else. Because I think because I've tried so many different things and I made that realization, like, I've been compensated with money for being really good at those jobs. I've been given promotions because of those jobs, and all of that never led to a feeling of fulfillment for me personally. Some people are driven by those things. For me, it was not working. And with acting, the only joy is the joy I put into it. And I love it. I can't imagine my life without it. Yeah. Yeah. That's all. It's just so simple.
I love that. Okay. okay, so you've done a lot of different jobs, and
Mhm.
some of the stuff you've done in the last few years is you have a background in psychology, right?
Yeah.
And physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
You were a fitness instructor,
Yeah.
personal trainer.
Yeah, I was for a little bit.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
body work stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
And the body work is mainly, I'm an avid yogi. I'm not a yoga instructor, but I'm working towards that as well. But the more yoga I do, the more in my body I feel, and the more I recognize, we were just talking about this earlier, I'm lazy, but I'm a worker. So if someone tells me to do something, I will do it, and I'll do it to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really good at muscling through when I'm not feeling well, or if my body's giving me signals, maybe slow down or stop. I'm really good at being like, no, I'm tough and I get things done. That's the person I am. And yoga has actually taught me to listen to my body, and it's also made me a better actor, because there's something about finding ease while you're putting in effort, because acting is all about relaxation really at the bottom of it, because you just want to be the character. You don't want to have to try to be the character. And for a long time I didn't understand that. I thought, I'm a hard worker, I'm going to memorize my lines and I'm going to act, and it sucked. I was terrible.
Do you remember the first time you felt the ease in your work as an actor?
Yeah. At Vancouver Film School, we did a presentation of scenes from Lying in the Streets, and it was a really terrible scene I had to do. It's a woman who basically ends up getting raped by her husband in the scene, and rehearsals were like pulling teeth, and I couldn't figure out how to do what the teacher wanted me to do. And I remember on the day, I just had this feeling, I'm like, I'm gonna suck so bad, and the whole school's here to watch today. So I just said, F it, and I threw it all away, and I just walked in and I just did it. And I was so in the moment, and I was so emotionally connected. And it was like magic. I didn't even understand that was possible, what I experienced on the day.
Gives me tingles. That is one of the most amazing feelings, I think, as a performer, and I think that's also a struggle for a lot of performers, myself included, the knowing that that's where you want to get to in your work, like the letting go part. It's like it's a combination of, I was just posting about this on Instagram. Like you do a lot of prep and you do all that work and all that skills training to then, once you are in the scene and you're doing it, you're basically, I like calling it like you're surfing. You just surf the wave.
Yeah.
So it's like you're building your board. The work is like building the board and your swimming skills, but then you can't control how the ocean's going to be and what wave you're going to catch.
Yeah.
And every time you do a performance, it's going to be a new wave. And you just ride that. But it's a letting go thing.
It's a letting go, and you can't chase to repeat any of it.
Yeah.
You just have to trust that the things will happen when they're supposed to happen, which is the hardest part, because as human beings, I think 98% of us try to control our lives as much as we can. So, but yeah, that's the magic moment too, though.
The best.
It's so good. And I think if you can't even I think if you've never experienced it, it's hard to explain to someone that feeling. That it's just such a rush.
Yeah. I just had someone ask me a question about that. She's newer in. She's in acting school, and I don't think she's experienced that feeling yet. She told me she was getting a note about not letting go enough, and she just needs to let it. Her performance is exactly the same every time, and she's wondering how do I even get there? How do you?
Yeah, I think it's for me. So I found it accidentally by just saying okay, I don't know what to do anymore because I've tried everything, and I just let myself drop. It's almost like you hear about people who do really well in auditions when they're sick.
Yeah. Because
they're just so physically depleted that they drop all their boundaries and they just drop, the vulnerability just comes out.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of that. And I think safe space helps. So she's in school to be surrounded by people that she can allow herself to let go and be a little messy and not get the lines right.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure otherwise. I'd have to talk to her and see her in person, but
yeah.
And I'd say watch tapes.
Yeah.
Too. Or even when I watch TV, sometimes I'll turn the subtitles on, because there's this thing about when you're reading a script, you paint a little story in your head about what it looks like. But I find when I watch with the subtitles, it's like I'm watching the actor doing it right off of a script, and then I start to see where they're letting go, where I personally maybe wouldn't.
Wow, that's a cool exercise. I've never done that.
Yeah,
that's really.
Yeah, that
totally
turned a lot of things around.
Steal that and try that. Because you can see, I do like watching actors' performances and trying to catch like, oh, they're so not in the moment right now. And I think that's a really good thing to know too, when you're trying to get jobs in TV and film, is to watch the actors and you're like, oh, well, they're not always always there.
Yeah, and everyone has a bad day.
Yeah.
And to know that that's okay.
Yeah. And that's part of it too. It's like, you're not always going to be completely like...
Yeah. But yeah, I really struggled with that with text analysis, where I take things so literally sometimes that I find it difficult to find that subtext that really brings a scene alive. So that's why I started doing the subtitle thing too. And also I'm a little hard of hearing, and sometimes I get irritated when I can't hear when people are like doing that sexy soft talk. So I turn on the subtitles so I can hear or know what's happening. But it's that thing of, okay, so the literal lines are saying this, but I'm seeing the subtext come through the performance, and then I brought that into my script analysis.
That's really cool. So you have lots of experience with your body, and you now are you're teaching classes on anxiety and specifically to auditioning.
Specifically to auditioning. But some of it can translate to performance for sure.
Yeah. Why did you start doing that?
Okay, so I've been toying around the idea of, I know long term I want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
It's just something I really enjoy. I love coaching my friends and whatnot, and I thought about maybe teaching an audition class, but there's a lot of those in the city, and I wasn't sure if I'm fully equipped to teach a full class yet. But then I had a friend approach me. She was doing a TED Talk in Chilliwack, and she was really nervous about talking in front of a group of people, and she asked me if I knew anyone who could maybe coach her a little bit. And I pointed her to one of my coaches, but he was too busy, so she came to me and said, can I buy you a coffee, and can you just watch me do this presentation? I was like, yeah, for sure, no problem. And we worked together that day, and we ended up working together over a whole month, once a week. And I realized how many little tips and tricks I knew, and how, just because I've lived through it myself and know, oh, when I'm really nervous, I lock my knees, and I know when my knees are locked, I disconnect from my body because the energy can't flow through. So I started to think, well, how did I learn this stuff? And I realized it took me 10 years, little tips and tricks from a variety of teachers, stuff I've learned from yoga, stuff I learned from the fitness industry. And I realized, I think as a newcomer, I would have really appreciated some of this knowledge. So that was it. So I started making an online presence, social media, and trying to sell myself. And
that's always hard too.
Yeah, I'm better at it than I used to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really, I want to be a person who operates from a point of integrity.
Yeah.
And so I just try to put out there what I can offer. And I'm not promising to solve the world's problems or cure you of all anxiety altogether, but to get a handle on them at least, or use little tips and tricks and places to put your focus to make your performance better, as opposed to wasting that energy worrying about the wrong things. Because that's all it is when you let your nerves overtake you, you're taking the attention away from the script and the purpose of the scene, and it's squandering it, this lovely resource you have.
Okay. I have so many thoughts about nerves and anxiety, because I think so many thoughts. Well, something I think we face so much as actors, humans, all humans do, but I think especially as performers, because we are facing situations that are scary over and over and over again, and we're also being asked to be vulnerable in spaces sometimes where it may not necessarily feel like super comfortable to be vulnerable.
In front of total strangers.
Yeah. So, do you have a definition of fear or anxiety? I think I guess they're different things, but.
Well, actually, I start each workshop with everyone going around and talking about how they currently deal with their nerves, and then also where they feel it in their body. Because I find that's very unique, person to person.
Oh, really?
And I also find that right when you figure out, oh, like for me, it's always like this heart palpitation and like just feeling my heart racing out of my chest. Once you start to do breath techniques or things that make it go away, it'll sneak up somewhere else.
Oh, really?
Sneakily, because your body's very smart.
And it wants to express it somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if, I don't personally have a specific definition for it because I think it's so experiential.
Yeah.
And it's part of the beast. And again, as being actors, we all have different relationships with our bodies and our nerves. So yeah, I don't think I have an answer for that.
No, I think that's a really interesting point, is how unique it can be from person to person, which might make it hard sometimes to talk about it or to know how to deal with it if everyone's having an experience in their own way, you know?
And a lot of people I've talked to say, I don't know. I guess my mouth gets really dry, but because they're so nervous, they lack the focus to even just look inwards and see where they're feeling it. Because I find even just starting to do that, starting to look inward and saying, okay, just checking it off. Oh yeah, there's that weird tingly feeling in my feet. Okay, so those are my nerves. Hello, nerves. We're gonna do this. And then you can start getting a handle on them. But if you're not even sure how it's affecting your body, because you're like me, who tends to go straight to the brain and start thinking my way out of it, that's the disconnect. I think if you start checking in with where the nerves are, then you can actually work with them.
Oh, that's interesting. My therapist told me recently that 80% of the blood flow leaves your brain when you go into fight or flight, which explains why one of the first things to go is your lines. I thought that was so fascinating, because I think actors get really mad at themselves when they forget their lines when they probably actually know them.
Yeah.
It's just they're in fight or flight.
Yeah, their body's like, we need blood in the muscles so we can run or punch this tiger out. Like,
yeah, who cares about lines right now? You gotta run.
You don't need your brain, you just need your body. Yeah.
Or punch the camera.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Is that insane?
Yes.
Yeah. Explains a lot.
Yeah.
So, okay. What do I have other questions about fear? I think I'm hearing right, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the goal as a performer with fear and anxiety isn't to be like, I'm never going to feel them ever again. Like you can't overcome fear and overcome anxiety.
No. But I think it's a thing of framing the anxiety as a helpful tool as opposed to a hurtful tool. Because it's normal. You're in a performance setting, and you don't want to be so calm, because literally when you calm your body, you're stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. You tend to get a little sleepy. You don't want that either. But the idea of saying, well, no, my nerves are here and they fuel me. And of course, excitement and fear are two sides of the same coin, really. So if you can turn that anxiety and make it more of an excitement thing as opposed to an anxious, dreadful feeling, that you're two steps ahead there as well. And I think I should have mentioned earlier, I'm not a psychologist. I didn't major in psychology in university, but I never got a piece of paper. So
yeah, me neither.
Please take everything I say with a grain of salt.
I feel like, if we talk about this, did you major in Alberta?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I majored in psychology too. Yeah. But I'm also not a psychologist.
We just act like them.
Yes. Okay. So what you do know about fear, though, is, techniques to help reframe your perspective on it. It sounds like that's one way of managing it, and then another, or is managing it even the right word? Now I'm really thinking about it. Managing is the word. How you operate with it.
Right.
Or use the fears.
And you can, and then try, definitely, if they're so overwhelming, like mine used to be really bad, to get to the point where you're diminishing them a little. so you can make it through an audition and not feel like you're gonna pass out.
Yeah. Do you have a fear story from an acting and fear story, where fear just took over?
Not specifically. I just remember I got really sick of letting my nerves sabotage me. Like just knowing, like I knew it, I ran it so well at home, and I get there to the audition room, I screwed up at the audition because I'm nervous. Yeah. And I was sick of that. I'm like, how do I change that narrative for myself? Which led me to the work and learning the stuff little by little here and there. But something that did happen again, I was at Vancouver Film School, and we had to sing a song for second term presentations, and I am not a singer. And I had this song, and I did okay in class, like rehearsing it. I managed to sing it usually on key, mainly. But the day of the presentation, I was so nervous, and now with hindsight, I recognize I was so tight through my chest and through my breath channel that I was literally choking the sound. And so we did a rehearsal in the morning, and I couldn't sing anything. We did a warm-up song together, and that was off key, and then I had to stand in front of my whole class and sing it, and I was off key, like terribly, and my teacher, to the point where the teacher said, "What's going on with you?" And I was like, I don't know, like it's just gone, I can't sing. And then I had my sister coming here from out of town, and she was going to come watch me in the afternoon. I was so nervous, and again it was that same thing where I was backstage, I was the next one to go on, and there was a little bit of like the F this, and it is what it is, and I think I probably must have taken a big deep breath to kind of loosen it up, and I got out there and I sang the whole song on key with a shaky voice, and I developed a nervous twitch, like this right here, like shook for the whole song. And then for the next 3 years, with every major high-stakes audition I had, which weren't a lot back then, but there was definitely like 2 or 3 times a year that twitch would come back.
Oh my goodness.
It was nuts, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And now I know, like through body and breath work, it was just, I was so high-strung, and I wasn't breathing, and I wasn't being good to my body.
Yeah, I think we all have these stories. If you act long enough, you guess you have these stories. So just hearing yours makes me go, oh, because I have mine too. And I'm wondering that, like, I think part of it that I'm curious about, I don't know if you've thought about this or have any thoughts on it, is how I think a story like that, like that's a traumatic event. You're so scared, your system is overwhelmed, and yet you're still doing it anyway, and you probably want to run, but you're just getting yourself up there and singing, and your whole body's
muscling my way through it.
No wonder you got a twitch. So then every other time you get any kind of thing that's kind of close to that, your system has now this insane pattern that's going to make that twitch happen. That's a perfect example of how your body works and your mind works. So if something's like perceived as dangerous, it'll really remember that. I'm curious to know if a lot of actors have experienced a lot of that with auditioning, because it seems like a lot of fear and anxiety is directed specifically towards auditioning.
Mm-hmm. Auditions are a funny beast because we tend to put so much pressure on them. Mm-hmm. But I think it's becoming more commonly known because of like Bryan Cranston, and I think, what's his name? Birdman, Michael Keaton. I heard him say it as well too, that the audition isn't the job interview. The audition is the job. Like as actors, we have to recognize that auditioning is our clocking in and clocking out. Yeah, and when you book the gig, that's like your Christmas bonus. But we're not, and once you start to frame it in that way, that this is my chance, you said it earlier too, it's my chance to put on this show, one night only, this panel of audition, or the audition panel, get to see you do this one-time performance. And you leave it all there on the floor and you walk away knowing that you've done your work. That's the best way to approach it. Mm-hmm. But the point to get there takes a lot of work too. I think people expect to just be able to do it immediately. but you need to put in your hours. Those, I don't know if it's 10,000 hours, but definitely I would say probably 500 hours of working towards getting to that point where you can just walk into an audition room and leave it.
Yeah. I think because it's definitely, I remember being at the point where, and I think I'm still around there, is where I understand the mindset I need to have. And I will like talk myself through, like, this is my mindset. I'm going in to do a performance. Bryan Cranston said this. I totally get it. Yes. And then you get there and you're like, oh no, my body's freaking out.
Because again, it's your mind can wrap itself around, like getting your body there. But I think that's when warming up and things like that can help connect the mind and the body.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of that living intentionally too, where I was going through that a little bit when I started to audition for a little bit of bigger roles, and I'd look at that sign-in sheet and see a couple of names where I know, or I remember one time I kind of recognized the woman. I didn't know who she was, but she had a resume with her, and she flipped it over, and I could just see from across the room how many credits she had. And I remember just feeling like, why am I here? Yeah. And again, working with my mentor, it wasn't that she specifically told me something, but I just recognized in her that she just carried herself with this confidence. So I started to live intentionally with, do I want to be the girl in the waiting room who's stressing out, feeling like she's not good enough, or do I want to be the woman in the room who has trust and belief in herself and understands she deserves to be here? Because if she didn't deserve to be here, she wouldn't be here. They wouldn't have called her in. Casting has 100 people to choose from. So the fact that I'm in that room is enough. Which again, cerebrally to understand
makes
one thing, but to just start having that intention every time I audition, because it's a habit. To start thinking like anything. If you think those positive thoughts, they become a habit. And there's still cracks in the armor sometimes. So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Totally. I think that's a really important thing you just said about the habits, and how I think we're good at creating habits with, like, oh, I need to brush my teeth every day, and I better get my groceries. But I think sometimes we forget that also our thinking is habitual, and we can control that. There are ways to do that. It's just work. We say you can control that, but it's not easy work, especially if you're in the habit of these the less than thoughts. I'm less than that person. I'm not good enough to be here. Those kinds of things, they're so insidious that we don't even recognize we're thinking them sometimes. So that's the work, is just really tapping into being aware and like saying, okay, for 1 week, I'm going to be very aware every time I have that kind of thought, and journaling about it, or trying to figure out how you can spin or maybe even baby step that thought to be a little bit more positive. Whether, if it's like, I don't deserve to be here, to maybe I do deserve to be here. And that maybe I deserve to be here can become I do deserve to be here. But I'm all about baby steps. Yeah, it is baby steps. It's a marathon.
Yes, it is.
We're training for a huge marathon.
Yeah.
You can't just
if you want to do it for life. Yeah.
What are some things that you feel like you do day to day that really help you serve your work as a performer?
Yoga's a big thing for me. I'm not a natural meditator. I've learned to become one, and yoga's been a big part of that, because that 1 hour, I've really disciplined myself to only think about my breath and only think of my movement when I'm in that hot room. I do hot yoga. It's my thing, not for everyone, but so that's something. I also make a point to, not daily, but at least twice a week, connect with another actor and just talk. It's that something really fundamentally shifted for me 3 years ago as well. I ended up moving into a neighborhood where I had actor friends, whereas before I was always a little bit isolated. I lived further out of the city. And just being able to talk to someone and say, oh, you had an audition, how did it go? And just recognizing we all are doing this really weird thing that most other people don't understand, because they won't. My best friend, I love her to death. I don't know if she'll watch this, but she, even up until the last time I saw her, how do you live like that? She says, how do you not know where your next paycheck's coming from. And I'm like, well, I know where like my basic pay is coming from.
Yeah.
But she can't wrap her head around the instability that I love. Whereas I'm like, how do you go to that cubicle day in and day out? Like I don't know. I can't wrap my brain around that. Yeah. It's been a big help to me to just have a sense of community. Mm-hmm. What else do I do?
Yoga community,
and then and I feel like I make less of a deal of all my acting related stuff. Like it used to be, I have an audition, or I'm gonna do this thing. And instead of letting myself get these highs and lows, because the truth is, if I book a role, I'm not any better of an actor than I was yesterday. And if I don't book a role, I'm just as good of an actor as if I did book the role. Because 9 times out of 10, when you don't book a role, it's not because you're a good actor, it's just all these other variables. So I'm finding, as long as I try to keep an even keel, so that, and I'm in class all the time because I am a lazy actor. I can't trust myself to just do the work on my own. So if I'm in class, I know I'm working on lines or scenes every week, and there's no ands or ifs about it. I don't skip class. I know a lot of actors who like pay for a class and they come like once in a while and they keep postponing if they're going to go or not. Some teachers allow it. I don't give myself that out. I treat it like an audition. I'm like, I have to figure out wardrobe, I need to learn this stuff, and I need to show up on time and be professional. And so I find the more I work in that world where it's all even keel, then when I do get a big high stakes audition where it's like a guest star or a pilot or something, I'm less likely to have the peaks and valleys with the audition experience, whether I get it or not. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's something about operating like a professional.
Yeah.
An amateur is the one who freaks out. And like, it's just something I have to tell myself, because again, it's like, why am I here? Why am I committed myself to this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very caring. I think it's being very kind. There's a kindness to that approach, like allowing yourself to operate like a professional.
Right.
Is a kind thing to do to yourself, rather than not operating like a professional, not practicing regularly, not taking care of your body. It's not very kind for yourself.
Yeah. And because like the audition experience is generally like an emergency, right? Like you get the audition, it's usually the next day. You have to memorize anywhere from 1 to 8 to 15 pages. And if every time that happens, you let your stress hormones like peak, and you don't sleep properly, and you're not hydrating properly, and all the other stuff kind of happens just for that one audition. It's almost like you're conditioning yourself to have that response to every audition.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can turn that around and be like, every audition is ordinary, which obviously it's not. Yeah. But that's where that's where I'm trying to get.
Yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. What's something that you struggle with now? So you're at this phase where you've learned all this stuff. String in the mouth. Put that over there. You've learned all of this, and this is like in your arsenal now as an artist and as a professional actor. What do you feel like is your next thing to struggle with, or like, do you have anything that you feel like you're struggling with?
Oh yeah. Because I'm not classically trained, I definitely have a chip on my shoulder of not being a great actor. But it took me a long time to even be able to verbally say, I am a good actor. I worked really hard to get to a point where I'm like, okay, yes, I get a scene, I know how to find little magic moments, I know how to bring myself to most of the roles I see. But like, I know I'm not Meryl Streep good. So that's something I strive for. And something I've always struggled with is being emotional, especially crying on cue specifically, because I've seen actors do that. I once worked with a woman who the camera would say, they'd say rolling, action, she'd turn, look, one tear. Take after take after take.
Wow.
Same eye, a tear, right? And that's mind-blowing to me, because I will only be able to do it when I'm really fully feeling the pain or suffering that the character's feeling. And again, when you have one day to learn the lines and you're supposed to walk from point A to point B, hit the mark, don't look at the mark, make sure you hand this tray over to that person, and and then now also be crying. I let all that technical stuff get in my way to actually get to that emotional moment. So that is something I'm working on constantly. In class, I've requested for my teacher that I work on a scene like that at least once a month. And I'm proud to say I just did a short film last weekend, and the scene didn't even say crying in it, but I was so invested in the character and in the moment, the tears were just coming and I couldn't turn them off. Awesome. I was able to just be there and do the thing. There was an earlier scene, the very first scene we shot, I was also so emotional. It was the first day on set and I was so nervous. And again, like meeting the whole crew that day, and I didn't know the director very well either. I didn't feel the safety to let that happen. So that's something I'm really working on.
The safety. Okay. How do you create a safe space for yourself when you don't know everybody and you're not sure how to make that happen? Like, when you're in a acting class, often you feel, once you get to know everyone, you start feeling way more safe, and then all this amazing work comes out of you. But then there are situations where you go into a space and you're like, I don't know these people, and then there's a part of you that just very naturally doesn't feel as safe, so you're not as willing to share that vulnerability. So do you feel like there's something now to help create that for you, or is that something you're still figuring out?
It's something I'm still working on. One thing I've been doing as well, because I think most actors that I know, we tend to cry all the time, like constantly, and sometimes we don't even know why. Like today, I was catching up on The Walking Dead, and there's an episode, and there wasn't even something like that terrible happened, just the way one character looked at another person, and I burst into tears. So what I'm doing in my daily life is recognizing those little like freak crying attacks, and just what is my mindset. And then also a lot of times our instinct is to shut it down because it's not always appropriate to cry when those tears come up, and I'm giving myself permission to let the tears come. So at home and in private, that's fine, but if I'm out in the street and I see something that makes me feel like I'm gonna cry, I think part of my thing personally is I've been conditioned to be very tough. Don't show weakness, don't let people know you're easy to cry, because I am. So I've been teaching myself permission to do it whenever, so that hopefully it'll relay into on-set situations. And the other thing is, and again, this is something that's easier said, it's easier to understand cerebrally, that's the word, yeah, so she said.
Cerebral.
But everyone on the film set wants you to do well, and everyone is so supportive, and they're not there to judge you, and they're not there to care. They're there to do their job, and you're there to do your job. And I guess it's just something from experience I've started to recognize, and when I see other actors work too, I pay attention. I think that's part of it too. When you're on set and you have the option to go sit in your chair or to sit in your trailer, I try to be on set as much as possible and watch at the monitors and see how the pros really do what they do. And then you look around and see how everyone else is operating, and you start to recognize that it is actually a safe space, because everyone there loves the movie magic and loves making film and TV projects.
Yeah. Two thoughts came from that. They might go though.
I know, because I talk so much.
No, it's so exciting. One was something I realized on set the other day is like, I've done a lot of theater lately, and one of the biggest things that shifted for me in theater was to Marie Olberly. She does viewpoints work. I don't know if you've done any viewpoints work, but one of the things that she says that's really stuck with me is to play the audience like a piano. So when you walk into a theater, your audience is always different, and they are yet another instrument for you to be working with. So rather than think of the audience as this big panel of people that are judging everything that you're doing, they're actually something to be playing with. And that completely changed how I performed.
I love that.
And then I realized it's the same thing in auditions and on set. Like, all the people that are there behind the camera and everything, they're they're your piano too. They're there. There's energy that they're giving you because they are trying to create a safe space for you.
Yeah.
And that you can welcome that in, and it's not the judgment. And I think that their judging you thing is big time projection from inside yourself. So it is again a mindset shift there. Yeah. So that was number one that came up for me, and I forget what the other one was. Maybe it'll come back to me. That you're saying it was something to do with the safe space. I'm realizing.
Is there anything you do?
Sometimes it's framing, like reminding this is a piano for me to play. It can be a letting it in, because sometimes I catch myself in a bubble. I think a lot of old training is that way, where you resist all the other stuff and you perform in this bubble. And I actually was on set, and it was a more emotional scene, and I could tell like everybody was trying to hurry up with the day because we were a little behind, and then you felt that, and so it was hard to emotionally connect.
Yes.
And I was like, what? And in that moment, I was like, what can I do? And then I noticed that I was in this bubble. It felt like I was just in Jen zone. And then I was like, let it all in. And so then I just started in between takes, like listening to all the hustle bustle and thinking about my character, and then looking at the other people, and then suddenly all of my emotions were there. So there was just something about acknowledging the present moment, even if it had nothing to do with the scene itself, but there is all this stuff there that's affecting what's happening.
So yeah, that bubble kind of takes you out of this space-time continuum in a way, right? It's an armor.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be emotional when you're covered in armor. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I do, and then for me it's connecting the body too. Like I often go into like a squat position, a hunker where I like lean over, and for me that's like I get really into my hips, and it helps me really breathe into my back, and I'm grounding towards the floor. I'm like literally really close to the floor, and for me that just helps me remind myself where I am and get in there. And I've been using that tool for years, so for me it's like a pattern that like when I do that, it brings a sense of calm and an acknowledgement of the moment. So, yeah.
This other thing that I've literally just started working with is the idea, because sometimes when you're playing an emotional scene and you're thinking, oh, my character has suffered in this way, that's why I'm emotional, because I've been socially engineered to be strong, that cuts me off again because I can't feel the pain so close to myself. So I've been trying to look at the character and say, well, she can't tell this story, so I have to tell it for her. And as soon as I put the pain onto the character, it gives me that just enough of a separation.
Yeah.
It's just like looking at a child, and you need to take care of that
child.
So then my sorrow is for them and not for feeling sorry for myself, because I have some kind of psychological thing around stop feeling sorry for yourself. Yeah.
That's cool. Mine's a similar.
So you just keep like digging and peeling back layers to figure out what is this thing.
That's so interesting. I have a similar one where I just say give the character permission to enter your body, and I actually imagine her coming in.
Oh, I like that.
And then I'm like, oh, now I'm her.
I love that.
It's a similar thing, I think, which is like allow them to tell the story rather than.
Yeah.
Jen may want it to be this way or to feel this way, but this person
needs it to be
the
way it's written. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think I'm ready to wrap up soon. I'm gonna rapid fire questions. What is one piece of advice you wish you knew when you were younger that you would tell your younger self?
No one's gonna save you.
No one's gonna save you. Okay. What is a show you're watching right now that's really like?
Oh. I watch such terrible TV.
It's okay.
I just finished The Gilmore Girls
Awesome.
because I'd never seen it. And then I had some friends saying, somebody gave me the book, Lauren Graham's book, and they're like, oh, there's all these references. So I feel like I can't read the book until I watch the show. And I watched the show and kind of didn't love it, but because I was sucked into it, I just kept having to watch to be like, okay, are they ever going to get together? And like, and then I watched the whole thing, and then I watched the year in the life, like they did a mini series afterwards, and the whole thing was so disappointing. It didn't give me what I wanted. I was really into Outlander, and now they're on hiatus, so I'm not sure how, and I don't know how to feel about that because it was really good and they got really crappy third season. What I like that's really good. Just rewatched True Blood.
Oh,
So
I never finished it. I need to get back into
Oh, it
it.
got terrible and terrible. Again, like so good in the beginning, and then towards the end it got kind of weird. But that one was satisfying at the end. I felt like
Yeah.
they earned the ending.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Game of Thrones coming up.
Oh yeah, it's coming
Season
up.
8,
Freaking
yeah.
love Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Where can we watch you? What shows are you in right now that we can watch you?
So The Murders on City TV, Monday nights at 8 o'clock? 9 o'clock. Check your local listings. I'm coming up in an episode, I'm excited because it was a principal role and I play a lawyer, and I think it was the most amount of lines I've ever done on TV. So I'm really excited about that one.
Was it lawyer lines too? Like
were
tough lawyer lines? Nice.
I don't want to give away too much.
Okay.
But they gave me some technical things to do, like in terms of like walk here, do this, put this here.
Good challenge.
And the things they gave me did not work properly. So I had to like get through the dialogue and connect with my scene partner and put everything where it's supposed to go, and make it look good. And that was a challenge. They don't teach you that in acting school. So that's coming up, and then I just shot my first Hallmark movie, and I have a small part in the morning show Mysteries. I'm not sure when it's going to be airing. Probably in about 3 months, I imagine. 3-4 months, yeah.
Woo!
Mm-hmm.
So exciting. Okay, and you are teaching audition anxiety workshops
Yes.
on occasion.
Yes.
What monthly-ish?
Monthly-ish. I'm going to do one in April. I think that might be the last one for the summer.
And for those of you watching who are not in Vancouver, these happen in Vancouver. So
Yes.
you can fly from wherever you are to Vancouver to take Venus workshop.
Yeah, do it. Yes, and if you want to find out more about it, you can go to my website, which is www.actorveenu.com. So that's ACTORVEENU.com.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to end with? I didn't plan the ending.
Oh, I'm just really happy that you asked me to be here. And we haven't hung out in forever, so
I
it's
know!
just really nice to catch up. And I'm really excited about
Yeah,
what happens out of this channel of yours.
I know, it's a discovery. I'm discovering it as it goes, but this was really exciting for me to do, so I'm definitely going to do some more interviews. A lot came out of this.
Excited to see what happens.
Thank you. We'll see you later. Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.